Gapdinya. Hello everyone and welcome to Lockdown. My name is Emma Allsopp and our discussion focus today is School is Out. Our guests today include Anisa from Methodist College Belfast, Esha from Rathmore Grammar School and Honor from St Louise's Belfast. Our guests today will be discussing how they've been coping and how they've been feeling with schools being closed and online learning becoming more predominant. We'll also be discussing the benefits and drawbacks of the current schooling situation and what our guests have learned throughout the process. Now, what has been the one thing that each of you have missed the most about not being in school? Anisa, if I could come to you first.
I would say it is like the human contact because personally, my friends are like a second family to me. I've always been really close to people I'm friends with. And so you have that constant support system every single day. And then the next day it's gone. It's not really the same when it's online because you can talk to people, but just hugging someone or just being near someone, it's different. It helps a lot more, especially if you get anxious really easily or when it comes to schoolwork, just having a constant support system is very hard for it to just disappear the next day.
Esha?
I would say that I've really, missed the face-to-face teaching because, online teaching has been so hard for me and all my friends. And I've just missed, the teachers like teaching us face-to-face rather than online because it's been so hard to keep up with the work and even do the work sometimes. So yeah, I've definitely missed that.
And Honor?
Again, with like the socialization, like not being able to see people, not being able to talk to people. Like I would consider myself a social learner, so I like to learn from like my environment as well. And like being stuck in the house isn't ideal for somebody who learns the same as me. So.
And Esha, you have quite an extraordinary story. Would you like to tell us a bit about yourself?
Well, I am cochlear implanted and I recently got cochlear implanted 3 years ago, and dealing with that, adjusting with a new disability and being hit with the global pandemic has been absolutely awful. Online teaching is just not ideal, and I've had to move school as well, and moving school, going into a new environment, trying to make new friends in the midst of a global pandemic. When everyone's wearing masks, I can't hear like through a mask. So that's also just been awful. And then just trying to keep up with work and, make friends and stuff. It's been really, really, really hard. And it's really had an impact on me and my mental health and how well I've, been able to deal with school and friends. So yeah, it's just been a whirlwind.
You really say that obviously online learning has been extremely difficult for you. Like, how do you feel what could people do to make it easier for you, to make times like this is particularly difficult for people like yourself? So what would need to be done to better the situation, do you think?
Honestly, I just think support. I'm very, very lucky at the minute that I have a good support system. Since I'm a special educational needs student, I do have a classroom assistant, and I'm so lucky that I'm able to have that support in place. But some people don't have that, and it's just, the teachers constantly checking up on you, constantly making sure like you're okay, that you understand the work. See when, Zoom classes, they're not ideal, but the teachers are doing everything they can, to help you in this situation with the resources that they are given. I think that clarity is another thing. I haven't really had any clarity. None of us have, with online learning and exams and, going back to school to do mocks in 2 weeks, that's just not ideal. I'm, very overwhelmed, very stressed. I probably cried about 500 times. It's just, yeah, it's really, really awful.
So you've mentioned quite how stressed and everything you are. Putting academic work sort of aside, how has this whole online process affected your mental health?
I think it's made me go into a dark place where I just feel like I'm repeating the day over and over, and I'm going back into, you know, the same hole, and I can't get out of it. It's really impacted on like my anxiety, and it's made me feel like really, really bad. I feel so much more frustrated, especially in relation to my disability. And I just want to, you know, curl up into a ball and just shy away from the world. Like some days, there was a period there where I didn't actually get out of my room, my house, for about a month. It's really hard to keep yourself motivated, just to even do essays, and then teachers giving you about 3 essays a week, trying to get that done, like 1 essay done a week. And then trying to keep in contact with your friends and all. I feel like that's been really, really difficult, especially because I've just moved, and it's been hard to make friends and maintain those relationships throughout a lockdown where we're all struggling.
Either Honor or Anisa, have you been feeling this sort of, you know, anxious, constant sort of level of stress the same way Esha has in respect to online learning and just life in general in lockdown?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like again, it's like repeating the days just over and over again. You know, to take even a break from online school and to explain to your teachers like I just need a break, but then trying to get caught up from that, because they are fairly understanding of our situation. So they will give you a bit of a break, but trying to get caught up from that when it's all just so on top of itself. And because like being in school, it was kind of like there was a separation. There was like your home life and your school life. But now that they've kind of merged together, it feels like the world's coming in almost. Like it feels like a lot more pressure because it's always there and you can't really escape it.
I would say it is a lot more difficult. And then as well as that, there are people who treat it as if you're taking a break from school and that you're on holiday, when, like as Honor said, it is worse because there is no break, because the same place where you're supposed to relax is the place where you're doing your work and your classes. So it's like the opposite of people thinking that you're on like holiday. Your work is in the place where you're supposed to be relaxing. So it's almost worse than actually going to school.
So, Honor, I picked up on something you said about, you know, you would usually have that separation of school and home life. And for me, that was definitely how I was sort of able to get my work done. I did work at home too, but it was very much, you know, you worked hard in school and then you came home and it was more of a relaxation time. So, how have you all felt that this situation has impacted on your work ethic? Do you think it's made you a more of a procrastinator, or has it actually improved your work ethic, do you feel?
Definitely made me more of a procrastinator, because you just feel like, oh, like I'm in my bedroom, like I'm doing school in my room, like this is like my space. And of course, like in school, you would have free periods, and I would usually use them to get like a lot of work done. Mm-hmm. But being in the house, you don't feel like that same environment. You don't feel that same like atmosphere almost. So then you kind of just feel like, oh, you got a wee break before your next class. Do you know what I mean? So you never get enough done.
I feel like the same. Like trying to do work is just no, it's really, really bad. You know, trying to even put pen to paper or like your fingers to a keypad is just so bad. I don't feel like I have been keeping up with my work, because I've always been leaving it until last minute. And it's just really hard to even explain to your teachers, like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to have this done. You know, it's so bad. So, yeah.
Well, I'm revising for mocks that are coming up in about 2 weeks. So I constantly feel like I'm not doing enough work and that I'm not revising enough, because usually when you're in school in the coming weeks, you know, when it leads up to your mocks or your actual exams, you have people to compare like what you're doing, and you can revise with people and like make sure that you're staying on top of things, or they might revise something that you completely forgot about. And I'm sitting here in my room and I have no idea whether I'm revising enough, and I don't know whether I'm going to be prepared or like whether I'm going to remember everything.
Another thing that I would like to ask is there any certain aspect of lockdown that you've learned from? Like, are there any lessons that you've learned about yourself or about life in general that when we emerge from this lockdown, maybe you'll think more or live life in a slightly different way?
I'd say this is going to sound a bit cliche, but I've really learned that you can't wait for like those, you you can't wait for memories and like special occasions to happen. You have to actively make memories. You can't just like sit back and wait for something amazing to happen or some fun moment with your friend. You actively have to put effort in and create these moments, because it's not going to happen otherwise. I think I've learned that.
I would say what I've learned is to live in the moment and do not take anything for granted, because, you know, you're going to be looking back, you know, at memories I made a year ago. I'm sitting right now and I'm going, wow, I really did take that for granted. And I don't really think I did live in the moment, because, and then when you sit back now, you know, you looking back, you know, what it's lost, all you can just think is, wow, like I just wish I would have done things different, you know, absorb the moment and yeah, appreciate it.
And obviously you're all at sort of different stages in school at the moment. Has COVID and being in a global pandemic affected your plans for the future? So do you think that you're very much so thinking it's driven you to want something even more, or has it made you sort of rethink your life plan and alter it slightly?
Well, my plan hasn't changed in the sense that I still want to go to university, but I'd say the online learning and the fact that, you know, every single day is the same my mentality has changed. And sometimes I kind of feel like, do I really want to go to university? Because everything just seems so monotonous to me. So I have to, you know, motivate myself to want to learn, to want to go to university, because I know I will enjoy it, because I'll be able to choose something that I'm interested in. So it's really just reminding myself that it's not always going to be like this. You will eventually go back and you'll have people to bounce ideas off of, to chat with and discuss, you know, your subject that you really enjoy.
I think it's made me realize, you know, do I want to go to university? Could I cope doing online learning in university? It's just, I feel like at the minute, if, you know, the situation continues by the time I do go to university, I don't think I would actually go, because I wouldn't put myself through it. It's been too hard. So I would just, you know, look at other options.
I think, well, for me, I want to go into like performing arts. Like I do want to be like an actress. And like luckily for me, I think our school is like one of the best like drama and dance departments in the north of Ireland. Like I think we're the only school that offer dance in the curriculum. And I kind of felt secure enough like going out to work after school, but being deprived of that training that we would have had, and obviously not having any practical in dance or drama at all this year, and like very, very little like last year before we went into the first lockdown. Being deprived of that extra training, it's made me feel maybe I should rethink and go to like university and do performing arts, just because I feel like I've been deprived of that training. I feel like I would benefit more from going.
Do you feel, obviously it is very much a face-to-face subject, you know, you're constantly with people, you're working with people, bouncing off people. Do you feel that, like, because I'm sure social distancing regulations and everything will be in place for a substantial amount of time, even when this lockdown lifts, does it maybe worry you slightly about the career path that you've chosen, that you want to do? Does it make you second guess it as such in general?
Yeah, like I definitely went through like periods in lockdown where I was very like insecure and like, am I good enough for this? Like it's gonna get 10 times harder after this. But I think it just kind of motivated me more to like really, really, really focus on it and really put everything I've got into it. But at the same time, it definitely took like a mental toll, that I was like, maybe I'm not good enough for this. Like everybody wants to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have felt like that before, like probably a little bit, but definitely not as much as I did during this lockdown.
So if I could say a massive thank you to our wonderful three guests, Esha, Anisa and Honor. You've been incredible, and I feel like the topics we've touched on today are so important and so crucial for other people to hear, to know that they're not alone in this situation. So thank you to everyone who tuned in. Gura Melgit, and Lockdown was brought to you by Politics in Action.